Hi, I'm Shelby Williams with Plano City Council. At tonight's Plano City Council meeting, Amy Coney Barrett was confirmed as an Associate Supreme Court Justice. But that was just coincidental timing. That wasn't us, that was all the U.S. Senate. What we actually did on Plano City Council was first, we discussed the prospect I raised of a shot clock for special zoning. So for planned developments and special zoning districts, these are things that are different, that aberrate in some way from the existing zoning that is approved as part of the comprehensive plan process and existing zoning ordinances. So the idea is that if you apply for special zoning, that's evaluated by the circumstances that are in place at the time of approval, traffic patterns, other developments in the area. If a certain amount of time goes by and you haven't done anything with it, then I believe that special zoning should expire, or there should be some kind of way to make sure that it's reevaluated with the circumstances in the area at the time that you actually want to get moving on that development. That was in preliminary open. Also in the preliminary open, we discussed the bond referendum that's coming up on May 1st, 2021. There are a whopping $409 million in possible projects that could go into that bond referendum. That's more than twice the total amount of approved bonds over the past 20 years combined. The reason for this is that our city was built out in bursts, largely over 20 or 30 years ago, and our warranty's up. There are a lot of projects which need to be undertaken to repair our roads, our infrastructure, some facilities. To wit, out of that $409 million, just about 3/5 of it is road repairs alone, arterial roads, residential, and alleyways. A full quarter of it is parks renovations. So this is going to be coming up over the next few months, and on February 8th, Council will decide what actually goes on to the bond referendum. And then on May 1st, you will have a chance to vote on each bond item to determine whether you will authorize that bond or not. If all of it is approved, then it will have a future impact on your tax rate and hence your taxes, your actual tax burden. So we have to make sure, we as council have to make sure we strike a balance between taking appropriate care and maintaining those roads and our infrastructure as well as facilities versus exercising fiscal responsibility with your money. An interesting fact that I didn't realize, but when we got the tidbit over the weekend, I did the math. With all of our lane miles of roads across Plano, residential and arterial roads, if you stretched all those lane miles, not full road miles, but each lane, end to end, it would stretch from New York to Los Angeles. Interesting fact. We then discussed, we have an actual sales tax surplus. In the midst of a pandemic, we actually brought in more sales tax than we anticipated, but we didn't anticipate much because of the pandemic. There was a $2.1 million surplus, which we voted to put into the capital maintenance fund. Now this is significant because the capital maintenance fund has specific guardrails around it, specific restrictions, and we deliberately hobbled our budget going into this current fiscal year that started October 1st because of the economic uncertainty and the conditions around the pandemic. And we did not get our property tax final rolls certified until very recently. So we didn't know exactly what we were going to be facing. We do now. Then in the preliminary open, we discussed charitable fundraising. Last December, I had a wild hair and I figured, you know what, I'm going to issue a charity challenge. I'm going to, for 3 tiers of money raised, I will wear a Santa hat to the meeting. I'll sing the national anthem at the meeting, and I'll wear a full Santa suit and sing the national anthem at the meeting. I didn't get to wear the full Santa suit, but I wore the Santa hat, as did a number of council members, and myself, Councilwoman 2, and Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Riccadelli, we all sang the national anthem at the beginning of that meeting in December. And we all kind of discussed at the time, hey, with more runway next year, I'll bet we can do something as a council to really do a lot of good and raise a lot more money. So we had that preliminary discussion today and agreed that we're going to figure something out as a council and maybe combine an element of friendly competition with PISD, other cities in Collin County, other cities in the area, which is actually what we kind of did without the challenge aspect to it, a little informal challenge, with the peanut butter drive. So the Collin County Peanut Butter Drive reveal was today, And with a target of, I think it was 225,000 pounds of peanut butter, we knocked it out of the park, and Collin County rose 287,000 pounds of peanut butter for the hungry. So well done, Collin County. We moved into the regular meeting with first an acknowledgement to the Plano Family's First Fall Fair, say that 3 times real fast, which we actually had to cancel because of the pandemic. But we are going to be conducting a virtual job fair through the end of the year. We issued a commendation to the 52 students with the Plano Mayor's Summer Internship Program, who even in 2020 was able to gain some very unique experiences, both virtually and on site with some of our sponsors. So well done to all the kids who participated in that. We issued certificates of appreciation for outgoing board and commission appointees. Then we had the consent agenda, where we pulled off the discussion of the sale of land at K Avenue and Park to the Plano Housing Authority. I did ask for this to be pulled off due to a number of considerations. One is that the city put the land out for bid, saying it would sell to the highest bidder. The highest bidder was Plano Housing Authority, but it wasn't a proposed cash transaction. It was basically a contingent transaction after potentially 2 years. Not necessarily 2 years, but potentially 2 years. Likewise, the use to which the Plano Housing Authority would put it as a nonprofit would not generate any income, or any, I'm sorry, not income, property tax revenue. And then was the proposed land use. Tonight wasn't actually a land use discussion, but I feel that's part and parcel. They said, here's what we intend to do with the land, so it should be considered. That ultimately passed 5-3, and so that land will be sold to the Plano Housing Authority. However, the zoning, that was undecided, and so that will come back before actually P&Z and council in the future. And then we discussed adding people from the Concerted Revitalization Plan areas to the Community Relations Commission. We had determined this at the last council meeting. The ordinance that was proposed tonight we felt didn't quite capture the required aspect of putting people from those Concerted Revitalization Plan areas onto the commission if they had applied and were available. So we amended the language. Lastly, I put a couple of items up for future consideration. One is to explore a proper rainy day fund for Plano. We currently focus on our days of working capital, which is appropriate for a variety of factors, including our bond ratings. But in addition to it, I think we should have a healthy days of working capital number. But in addition to this, I think we should have a bona fide rainy day fund with actual guardrails and restrictions regarding how money is put into it, and more importantly, how you take money out of it, how it gets spent. So in our years of plenty, which we are not in right now, just so everybody's clear on that, in our years of plenty, when we can put money into the rainy day fund, then when a year ending in 20 happens, we can make sure that we appropriately use those resources for the things that we need to do and to address any true hardships that the city and our people may fall in. And the last thing I wanted to explore was the criteria for sale of city assets. So this goes back to the sale of the property at K Avenue and Park. We put it out for bid saying we're just going to sell to the highest bidder. However, when we put services out to bid, when we ask for companies to bid to us, we don't say we're just going to give the contract to the lowest bidder. We weigh a variety of factors. And I think if we're selling city assets, whether it's land, equipment, well, maybe not equipment, but whatever, we should very clearly articulate the criteria by which we're going to gauge to whom we award the bid. So in the case of land in particular, we don't sell a lot of land, but on the occasions when we do, I believe that we need to consider more than simply who's going to pay the most for the land. We should consider the proposed uses for the land. We should consider a variety of factors. But our duty to our constituents and to the city is to make sure that we're doing the best thing for the city, not just on a purely transactional basis. That's it for tonight's meeting. I will say that next Monday, November 4th, we are going to have a special proclamation for Blake Coleman with the Tampa Bay Lightning, who is a Plano native who just won the Stanley Cup against the Dallas Stars. Sweet irony, bittersweet irony. Thank you very much. God bless.